All right, well, we went from cash is trash to now cash is king. What should you do with your cash right now? I've got 3 ideas, that and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Yeah, that was quick. I mean, it's just what, a few months ago where the saying on Wall Street was cash is trash, and for good reason, right? The money in your bank account was earning no interest, and it was losing ground because inflation was soaring at double digits. And now that has shifted, and now cash is king. And you hear this from time to time when the market's not doing too well. Well, cash is king right now. You should, be careful about how much you have in the stock market, blah, blah, blah. Guys, that's for traders. That's not for long-term investors. Cash is king, that saying really is for businesses managing their cash flow and making sure that they have access to cash. But the same thing for us individuals, consumers, for our present financial position, which is sort of the blocking and tackling, the foundation of your entire financial plan, your present financial position. Cash is king is really a reminder to make sure that you're managing and have a good handle on your cash flow, that you don't that you have some margin in your monthly expenses, and that you've got cash on hand, a fully funded emergency fund. That's really where cash is king comes from. It really shouldn't be connected to, the stock market, but it is, and that's fine. So you might even hear some people right now saying cash is king because the market's down, but no. Let's think about it differently in the right way. Cash is king with your present financial position. And if that's true, and it's now a little bit more rewarding right now to have cash, what are 3 things that you should be doing with your cash? First and foremost, and just had a meeting with an individual recently, just a couple days ago, that accentuated this very thing. And so number one thing you should be doing with your cash is, if that cash is your emergency fund, it's got to be in a high yield savings account, a high yield money market, okay? So if that is your emergency fund, if the cash that we're referring to is your emergency fund, have it in a high yield savings account. This individual that I was talking to just had it in a savings account at the bank. It was earning 0.2%, point nothing, right? That is earning absolutely nothing. Here's my rule. You've heard this before. My rule with your emergency fund, with your savings account, is it needs to be FDIC insured. It has to be guaranteed. It has to be safe. And you need to be aware of FDIC limits and all that sort of stuff. But it's got to be FDIC insured. Number 2, it's got to be liquid. It's got to be liquid because your emergency fund, emergencies can happen out of the blue. And hopefully it's not, this afternoon, but it could come up out of nowhere. And if you've got, some partitions between you and getting access to the money, that doesn't feel good in an emergency. So your emergency fund needs to be liquid, needs to be accessible. And then it should be free. Wherever you're holding it, at the bank or whatever, there shouldn't be a cost for them to hold on to your money for your emergency fund. If it needs to be FDIC insured and it needs to be liquid, there should be no cost. Shouldn't be paying the bank to hold on to your money. After those 3 rules are met, give me the highest interest rate possible. You should want the highest interest rate possible. And does that mean you've got to look every single day? No, just generally what's the highest interest rate. And right now, these online money markets, or these high yield money markets, these high yield savings accounts, they're actually paying decent interest. Comparing the interest that they're paying to inflation, not even close. There's a long way, right? But it's certainly a lot better than the 0.2% or 0.1% or 0.3% that you might be getting at your bank savings account. So number 1 thing to do with cash right now, because cash is king, is instead of having your emergency fund in your bank savings account, transfer it to a high yield money market or high yield savings account that you'll likely find online. Doing so, you might need some help, so work with your CFP on that. You'll set up that account online. You'll connect it to your checking account so it's fully liquid and you can transfer money back and forth. The money at the high yield savings account or high yield money market, it's going to be FDIC insured, so make sure you're aware of those limits and don't outpunt your coverage there. And then it's going to be free and fully liquid. Okay, so you can transfer money back and forth, but while it's over here in that high yield money market, it should be earning about 3%, maybe a little bit more, maybe a touch less depending on the one you're using, but about 3%. That is significantly better. If you've got 20 grand, you've got 50 grand, you've got 100 grand. This individual I was talking to had about 100 grand. They're at 3% compared to 0.2. That's a meaningful difference. That's real money. So that's the number one thing that you should be doing. Now, number two, cash is king. So what if it's not your emergency fund cash? What if it's your delayed spending cash? And let me define what I mean by delayed spending. Delayed spending is that second bucket of your 3 bank account system. It's your second bank account, and it's where you're saving up in advance for known upcoming expenses. Oftentimes, this is a savings account. I would encourage you right now to make that a high yield money market as well. Make that a high yield money market as well. If you're setting money aside, $50 every single week for vacation, or $100 every week, or something for car replacement, something like that. Or if you do it monthly, $300 a month for car replacement, that sort of thing. A lot of times it's just easy to have that in a savings account. I would have that also in a high yield money market, a separate one from your emergency fund. Create a second one, call it delayed spending, call it whatever you want. Where I do my online banking, that's my high yield money market. I can nickname accounts. I have multiple here within that second bank account. But the ones that I'm saving up and then a couple months later I pull the money back out, it's not a big deal how much interest you're earning on those, okay? But the new car fund or the home improvement fund, or the ones that are going to sit there for a while and accumulate a little bit higher dollar amount, right now, again, interest rates at 3%, that's a meaningful difference. It could be $10 a month that you're getting in interest. That's a big deal compared to a couple pennies, and it adds up over time. So right now, the second thing that I would do, now that cash is king again, and you can get some interest on your savings account, is even your delayed spending. Your short-term savings for money that you know you're going to spend at a later date, I would move that to an online money market, a high-yield money market as well. And then third thing to do, cash is king for the money that you have in the bank. If it's not for emergency fund, if it's not for delayed spending, but it's also not for the long term. It's not retirement money. If it is retirement money, work with your CFP, find a way to start dollar cost averaging that into your long-term investments, that sort of thing. But if it's not for the long term, but it's also not for emergencies or for delayed spending, maybe you think, well, I'm going to need this cash at some point, or I'm going to retire in the next year, or retire in the next couple of years, or something like that. I'm going to need this cash accessible to me, but not here in the short term. We haven't said this in almost 15 years. I'd consider a CD. I'd compare, it's either needs to be in that high yield money market or in a CD, either brokered CD or one offered through that high yield money market or high yield bank account, likely not through your normal bricks and mortar bank, because the CDs that they're offering, again, it's not going to be as attractive. But this individual, a case that we were working on, had a little more than $100,000 available in his in his savings account, is earning nothing. So we're taking the emergency fund portion, moving it into the high yield money market, and then some other dollars that he needed to have access to in a couple of years, but not in the short term, and it wasn't long term money, putting that into a CD. That can earn 4% or a little bit more than that instead of 3% in that high yield money market. So those are 3 ideas. Cash is king right now, as it always is within your present financial position, but right now it's more rewarding and more important to make sure that you're getting the right interest rate possible. All of that outside of the context of a comprehensive financial plan, those might be the wrong choices. They might not be appropriate for you. You've got to work with your certified financial planner who can see all 6 areas of your financial life. Yes, your present financial position, but also protection planning, your tax planning, your investment plan, your retirement plan, and your estate plan. All of those need to be considered before you know with confidence, clarity and confidence that, yep, this is what I should do with that cash, okay? So hopefully that helps. No substitute though. Go work with your certified financial planner. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, CoreHorn.com. That's CoreHorn with a K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.